In less than 30 days, Trev Alberts is naming the third head coach since a proven winner was fired in Bo Pelini. And even though Mickey hasn't flipped this team as quickly as we thought he might, he's still shown flashes that he could be the coach Nebraska needs to get things going in the right direction. But after 7 years of failure, the biggest question I and many other fans have is, can Trev afford to hire somebody based on their potential? Or is it time to call the boosters and lock in a proven winner who carries less risk? With Colorado, Georgia Tech, and Arizona State all looking for a head coach, there's a good chance Mickey won't be back in 2023 unless he gets this job. So today, I'm making the case for and against Mickey Joseph as head coach at Nebraska to see if it's worth the risk to make him the main man or if it makes sense to risk letting him walk. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Corn Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we're less than 150 away from hitting 15,000. And if you think we need to protect Mickey at all costs, hit the like button now to help us get to 1,000. But now, let's jump into it.
Yet across midfield. Touchdown, Nebraska. Omar Manning.
Yesterday, Sean Callahan and Husker Online reported that Mickey Joseph is being considered for the Arizona State head coach job opening and that the school has been in contact with Mickey's agent. And this isn't much of a surprise since Power 5 schools like ASU put out feelers to multiple coaches just to see who might be interested and who would be willing to have the conversation. But we've got no way of knowing how serious they are about getting him to interview. So my initial thoughts were, who cares? Obviously, a school like ASU would love to have Mickey. He would completely change their recruiting and instantly draw big names from the South out to the Pac-12. But they've got plenty of options, and he's probably just one of their backup choices. Then I thought about it more, and last year there were 30 openings around the country, and 14 of those were at Power 5 schools. Right now, there are already 6 Power 5 openings, and we're still in the middle of the season, which means we're on pace for serious chaos come late November. One of ASU's top targets is the OC at Oregon, but if they win the Pac-12 or if they make it to the playoff, who knows what big-name school could steal him away? And in that situation, it's even more likely that ASU has to settle with one of their backup choices. Let's take Arizona State out of it. 30 jobs were open last year, and there might be even more than that at the end of this month. Mickey's efforts in recruiting haven't gone unnoticed, and more schools are going to reach out to at least have the conversation. And I don't want to make it sound like Trev needs to hire Mickey now or expect him to leave, because I still think it's a long shot. But I do think we need to be aware of the situation at hand and talk about the pros and cons to his resume to better understand what he brings to the table as a head coach. And of course, whether or not that's enough to give him the keys to one of the top football programs in America. Last week, Mickey interviewed with Sports Illustrated, and I gotta read this quote to you. Everybody wants Nebraska to stay sleeping because they know we've got the resources and they know I can get the players. They don't want this fucker to wake up. So if you had any questions about whether or not Mickey thinks he can turn things around, I'm guessing that quote cleared those up for you. I sent a poll out to subscribers and I asked if it was worth risking letting him leave or if Trev needed to make Mickey head coach. And surprisingly, 60% said it's time to give him the job. And I say surprisingly because it felt like a lot of fans wanted him a few weeks ago. But after dropping back-to-back winnable games to Purdue and Illinois, I thought the fan base was pretty set on finding a proven winner to come right the ship. The general census, at least from our subscribers, is that if we can get a big name head coach and we can keep Mickey Joseph, that's a good plan. But if we got to trade Mickey for a proven head coach, they're not okay with it. And I'm not here to say whether or not subscribers are right or wrong, because I got no clue what to do. But I am here to give you the facts about Mickey's resume and to break down, 1, why he should, and 2, why he shouldn't be considered for this job. Before I get any deeper, I gotta shout out our video sponsor BroThrow, because not only do I use it every day, but our Corn Crazed group has over 400 members from around the country betting on games with me. BroThrow is an online sports betting platform that allows you to bet against other users on the site in any U.S. state, and yes, that includes Florida, Oklahoma, Nebraska, any of them. You got to be 18 plus to use it, and payments are made with Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, or any of the other payment options the site offers. But there are no fees, there's no minimum bet, there's no withdrawal requirement. So if you bet five and win on a game tonight, you'll get paid without having to wait or make any other bets. And we have our own Corn Craze community. So if you sign up at brothrow.com/GBR, you'll automatically be added to our group and you can bet on any games you're watching, whether that's basketball, football, baseball, soccer, whatever. And last night I went 2-1 betting on Ohio +3, Kent State -7, and the Miami Heat money line. So I woke up to $65 in my Venmo this morning, and since it's not a sports book or an online casino, I don't have to pay the vig on my losses. And if you're betting somewhere else and you want to learn more about why I moved all my action to BroThrow, you can always message me with your questions. But I love using this site over anything else I have before. So if you want to sign up for free and check it out yourself, just head over to brothrow.com/GBR to get in our group, and I can help you out in our chat section over there. I want to keep the energy positive, so we're going to start off with why Mickey should be the next head coach in Lincoln. And remember, I'm not here to tell you whether he's the right guy or not, because I honestly don't know. I'm just here to lay out the facts and let you make the decision based off that. Number one, he's an elite recruiter and player developer. Going back to the LSU days, Mickey had plenty of top-rated high school players in his room, but he also took guys in who weren't big names and turned them into college stars and then NFL draft picks. Justin Jefferson of the Vikings is probably the most notable, but he's not the only one. Nebraska's past two coaches haven't had trouble getting big name or highly recruited players to come to Lincoln, but they have had problems getting the most out of those guys, and despite ranking in the top 25 for recruiting every year, they could never make the top 25 during the season when it actually mattered. Mickey already showed us what he could do in the offseason by bringing in Trey Palmer, Casey Thompson, and now Malachi Coleman, but how successful could he be with his own staff to help maximize their development? Number two, he makes the tough decisions. Nobody wants to fire the guy they came up with or work with every day. Just ask Scott Frost. But sometimes for the sake of the school or the entire state, or at least for your own future, you gotta cut the cord when you start to see things are going downhill. Mickey stepped in and fired a coordinator when he didn't have many options behind him, but for the sake of the season, he knew it had to be done. Frost had coaches on staff who failed for 4 years straight and still refused to acknowledge change was needed. So maybe I'm just excited that Mickey made a move I was waiting for, but either way, it boosted his resume. Number three, he has Nebraska ties. And this isn't a requirement, and I don't even think it should be a deal breaker, but understanding the culture, the expectations, and how great this place can be is a huge plus. Mickey played at Nebraska 30 years ago, and he can give the guys he brings in from out of state great insight since he had a similar experience when he was their age. High school coaches around the state already have a connection with him, fans already have love for him, and most importantly, he's given more resources since he's already trusted by this administration because he's one of our own. Number four, he's affordable. This doesn't really matter since the money coming in with the new media rights deal is so big, but with the recent super contract failures and knowing Trev doesn't want to just waste money, it's worth mentioning. Since Mickey hasn't even been a coordinator, his market rate as a head coach is cheaper than any other candidate Trev's going to pursue. So if something does go wrong or things just don't work out, the university can fire Mickey and move on without having to worry about some massive contract they still have to pay. And A&M learned this the hard way. They gave Jimbo Fisher the first guaranteed super contract worth $75 million. And now in year 5, after landing the best recruiting class of all time, his team's 3-5, multiple players just got suspended for smoking weed in the locker room before a game, and A&M would have to pay over $80 million if they wanted to fire him today. Number 5, he's a recent national champion. It's great for recruiting. It means he knows how a championship program should look behind the scenes, and other coaches respect that success, so he's more likely to be able to hire big-name coaches to fill his staff. Number 6, he's likable and fan-friendly. And honestly, I don't care if I like the coach as long as he's winning, but it sure does help when he isn't. And when Mickey talks to the media, he's lighthearted and nice, but he gets straight to the point. He takes the blame for errors since it's his team, and he doesn't come across as egotistical or in it for the wrong reasons. Mickey wants to win as bad as we do, And I thought the same thing about Frost, but listening to these new press conferences taught me what a genuine head coach should sound like. And last at number 7, he's a culture builder and a player's coach. When Mickey was announced as the interim, the team cheered. When Nebraska beat Indiana, the players chanted his name in the locker room. And when the season felt like it was over after it had barely even started, Mickey brought life back into this program and made these players believe they could still win even though so much was working against them. There's no question he can inspire this team as the head coach since he's already done it as the interim with somebody else's players. I can't give you the good without the bad, so now we got to talk about why he shouldn't be the one who gets this job. Number 1, he has very little head coaching experience. There's a lot more that goes into being a head coach than what we see on the 12 game days each year. He's got to manage a $100+ million operation that oversees NIL funds, recruiting, booster events, practices, workouts, team meetings, and everything else that goes on during the entire 8-month offseason. And it's one thing to be the head coach at Wyoming where a lot less people and a lot less money's involved. But this is one of the biggest brands in the entire country. Number 2, he hasn't spent much time in the Big Ten. One thing we learned from Brett Bielema, Joe Moorhead, Rich Rodriguez, and Scott Frost is that if you don't have much coaching experience against teams in the conference you're trying to win, it makes your job that much harder. Bielema and Moorhead both failed in the SEC, but they've been successful during both stints at their Big Ten schools. Rich Rod and Scott Frost both won Coach of the Year awards outside the Big Ten, but they never could get over 500 once they jumped in to play a different style of competition. Mickey's won 2 Big Ten games against 2 of the worst teams in the conference, but outside of this one season, he's spent all 5 of his years as a Power 5 assistant in the SEC. Number 3, he's never had to build out a staff. So which direction can he go? Because he's only been coaching in the Power 5 since 2017, so how do you go about putting a staff together? This is more of a question and less of a doubt since I'm sure he has plenty of relationships and can figure out who he thinks would be a good fit. But this is going to be his first ever attempt at building the staff out, and they've all got to get along, they've all got to buy into his culture, and most importantly, they got to work well under him. Number 4, he's never been a coordinator. Most head coaches come in with a strong background as an offensive or a defensive coordinator. They manage that side of the ball, and they allow the guy on the other side to oversee the rest. Mickey's a wide receivers coach. He's worked with the running backs and the quarterbacks, but to my knowledge, he's never called plays or even scripted a drive. I'm not saying it's never been done before, but hiring a head coach who's getting his first taste of coordinator action as the guy who makes the hire is at best unusual, and at almost every other school in this conference would be completely unheard of. And number 5, we're probably not getting peak Mickey Joseph because these are his years to learn. Every head coach has to go through a learning phase. There are new challenges he's going to face every week for the first time. And just like Frost's situation, some lessons have to be learned the hard way. There might be a learning curve that takes 2, maybe 3 years to get through. And the leash is shorter in 2023 when good coaches can turn programs around immediately with the transfer portal and NIL. So is it worth allowing Mickey to fight through the mistakes and learn how to be great at his job? Or is it better to hire somebody who's been through the toughest part and can fully focus on building a championship contender? I'm seriously torn because I think Mickey's a great fit at Nebraska. I'm just afraid we're too early to take a chance on him. My biggest fear is getting another Scott Frost who has the ties, seems like the perfect fit, but in hindsight, didn't have the resume that said he was ready to win in the Big Ten. On the other hand, you never know with any coach you hire, and the positives on Mickey's resume are so good, it actually has me believing that he might be as good a hire, or even better than some of the names we've been hearing. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Have you thought about who you'd like to see as head coach, or are you just waiting to see how it all plays out? Does Mickey have a strong enough resume, or does he need some more time to develop? And are there other coaches on the market that are intriguing, or is everyone a bit underwhelming at this point and you're just hoping for the best? If it's not Kiffin and if it's not Aranda, Mickey might be worth a shot. But what do I know? I'm just a guy in my bedroom. But that's all I got for today, so thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Big Red.